let's just kind of introduce things before we get started, because I'm already wanting to dive into it. Hello there, my name's Eric. I am the Major Nerd. I'm a TikToker, content creator, and voice actor on TikTok and YouTube. And I like talking about collectible trading card games, and I'm also making my own collectible trading card game.
And I am the TheDemonFergus. I am a content creator, a competitive TCG player, and a collector of shiny cardboard. Really excited to be here.
Well, this is episode 1. This is the Genesis. And to kind of start things off, we do have a question for people that are watching. We have to decide our name. And right before we started recording, we did have a few that kind of like popped into our heads of like ones that would be like, oh, this would be quite cool to have. First one. And we're going to have a poll. You can decide in the chat. Make sure you like or comment which one you like the best. First one is Diabolical Scholars.
Just rolls off the tongue.
It sounds cool. Then the second one, a little bit more poignant, was Trading Card Talk. That one's pretty nice. And then the last one, which I think we both agree that was like, okay, this one also has some spice to it. It's Collectible Cardcast.
That's just, oof.
Oh, man. That's a... That one hits well. So please let us know here in the comments. And let us know which one you think is the best. And then from there, we will officially be naming this podcast whatever you decide. It is up to the fans. We'll leave it in your hands.
Exactly.
There's a lot that we need to talk about today.
Oh,
I mean, it's a lot. When we've been kind of chatting back and forth in DMs and just like on streams and stuff, whenever we get the opportunity about like what it is that we're going to be kind of going over here. But there has been a lot. Like this has been a fiery week for a trading card.
It's just been. It just hasn't. The train hasn't stopped. Like it just keeps on going and going. And we just left off the year with something huge. Like I'm getting shivers just even thinking about it. So I'm really glad that we're finally getting to dive in because this is something we have both been a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we gotta get that, talk about the elephant in the room.
Topic number 1, Metazoo. It's and like there's a smile on our face as we both have like, you know, more Metazoo product next to us and whatnot, as we confess that we were diehard fans. But, you know, from what we know, as of right now, the company has shut down. There is no word from higher ups at this point about whether or not they will continue their IP through a different company. There has been rumors and speculations about what company will be acquiring the intellectual property, but nothing has been confirmed yet.
And that the speculations that people are throwing out, like Bandai, that like threw me away. Like I was just like, Bandai has like 3 or 4 TCGs under their belt, and for them to pick up Metazoo,
yeah. And speaking of, I mean, not to pivot, but like, did you hear that Funimation just went down?
Yeah, that's like blowing up on my TikTok and everything.
So like, it seems like a lot of corporate entities are cutting corners and shrinking their inventory, their reach, what they have to have responsibility over, and what they're allowing other people to have responsibilities for. And I think this also kind of ties into card games and kind of what it's because as we're kind of speculating about what company is going to be acquiring Metazoo, you have to think, well, with a company like Bandai already having multiple TCGs under their belt and being responsible for, do they want to take on another one? You know?
And with the game that has the history that it has right now.
And I mean, it's, oh, man. When you have a company that has dragged their name through the mud by their own hand, it's hard to then take that turd and polish it and then have someone buy the turd.
Okay, Metapoo. The famous name that people like to throw around, which I will give Metazoo that. They even made a promo card for that.
That's crazy to me. I always enjoy that. And you know what? I still have my my influencer medal from Metazoo. I always kept that.
The one thing that I am so mad that I didn't get, and I was promised that I was supposed to get one, and I never did. And
you can have mine. You can have mine. It's really okay. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like there was a point where I even tried selling it at like the hype of Metazoo. Like I was like, guys, you know, I saw one going online for $7,000. I know there's only like 11 pop ever. So,
but it's like, and again, this is coming from like diehard fans. Like I've loved I'm born on November 2nd, the Day of the Dead. So the supernatural has always been something that's been stuck with me.
Yeah.
And when I found out about Metazoo happening, a card game about like cryptids and everything, it blew me away. And getting involved with it, the like I've been through. I consider myself a TCG whore because I've been through Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Super, One Piece, Digimon, every single one, even Magic.
Oh,
The
yeah.
the fast quality that Metazoo had in making it a community was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was so welcomed super fast in that community where I was like immediately, you know what, I'm hooked. I'm flying to Chicago for their first like one of their first big cons.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of how I felt. Like I was swept off my feet by the zoo. It was. Oh my gosh! I can't believe I'm even admitting this now. It was. Oh
This
no.
is it. This is where we're bringing it all in.
It's Alpha Investments. Alpha
Mm-hmm.
Investments. I was watching some videos on Alpha Investments, and he was promoting Metazoo. He was giving the first. It was the not the Kickstarter bundle because I had missed out on that. I had no idea what Metazoo was. I had like the moment I heard about it, it was the day their Kickstarter closed. But the moment that I got into the zoo, I was buying cards left and right. I was making videos about it. To know that I had worked so hard to make hundreds of videos and I did it out of the love and the passion of
Mm-hmm.
just the card game itself. It was nice to see that Metazoo tipped the hat and would send me shipments of like their newest set to kind of reveal to the fans and promote them even more. And I did that so willingly because once again, it just came from love.
Oh yeah.
And then the honeymoon phase ends. And now we're kind of getting into it's like, okay, there are times when I feel like because I don't have money, I am not seen as an asset to the team of promoting something. So there'd be moments where promos would drop and a certain content creator would purchase a large portion to then sell or, distribute on streams. And because I didn't have that access to capital, I mean, I was completely ignored.
Yeah.
And I felt like, and there's a lot of people that feel that way, right? I mean, like, and we're not going to name drop here. We're not trying to
Oh yeah, for sure.
mull over.
But like, and
It was a
oh yeah,
sentiment that was shared in the community for sure. Like, okay, so
yeah,
you're prioritizing people with money to once again keep up the price and the objective viewpoint that Metazoo is a hot, hyped commodity, as opposed to focusing on the core fan base that is building up the lore, the love, the actual love of the community and what that brings, as opposed to just the dollars itself.
yeah, and that was another thing. Like, and no, you did bring a good point. When they started announcing the influencer medal, man, my DMs got flooded because again, I started making content with Metazoo. I made cryptid lore videos because people wanted it. Nobody knew a lot of the lore of it,
Yeah.
so I made bite-sized lore of cryptids. So when they're announcing like, hey, we're going to be sending out content creator medals, a new wave, and then influencer medals, my DMs got flooded from the community saying, hey, you're going to get one, congrats. But and then I never got one, which I was fine. But then people from the community that made content started seeing non-community members getting those medals. And it made so many people mad and so many people stopped making content because of that, because they were seeing like, yo, like this random person that literally has never been to a con, that's never talked to the community, that's never even made a single Metazoo video is getting an influencer medal or a content creator medal. And I was like at
That
the
would
end,
hurt. That would sting right
and
there.
it did. But it's like, you know what? I got to put my head on my shoulder. I got to just keep it going because at the end, and you brought a good point. It's like I did it out of love. I did it for the
Yeah.
community. I didn't really care about getting a medal, even though it would have been nice. But I still had so much fun making those videos that I was like, you know what? I got my validations from the DMs from all those people. I don't need a medal. I'm fine with it.
And you know what? Like, aside from the fact that the company went down, the memories that I've made from going to these conventions to hang out with these people, to get artists sign cards, I've always enjoyed that so much, and that's what kind of binded me to the love. I mean, and the card game played really well, and sure, like later sets it got a little bit more complicated, tougher to kind of navigate through.
But they were so fun as a competitive player for Metazoo, going to all the cons and tournaments. The card game wasn't even that that difficult, because Mike did stand with his word that it was a love tribute to Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Magic, and you can see the aspects on all those cards on Metazoo, and the fact talking to the R&D, to a lot of the amazing people backstage and everything, like Fajir, my man, the GOAT, like just talking to him and seeing the passion that he always has when we're talking in tournaments, saying like, oh, you're gonna get excited for next set because we're gonna implement certain things, but I can't tell you, but they're gonna be implemented in there. And it's just like, all right, when I would say something, he'll be like, "Mom's the word." I was just like, "Oh, okay." We're getting the same headspace. So it was like, it was such a cool niche of a game, and the fact that the outside of the world mattered was even on top of it was
that blew my mind. That for me was hype mode activated. It was like, wait a minute, this game actually takes like fourth wall effects and brings them in. I was like, oh well, I'm gonna have 100 balloons with me. And, I'm like, I'm for killer clown decks, and I'm gonna just and then they started putting limits and rules, and I was like, okay, for tournament play that makes sense. But it was always something that was so interesting to me that you could do this, and it is definitely something that is a learning experience from everyone involved. And it trickles down from like the highest on the high, right? Mike, Andy, Shaw, everyone who's like was from the core, Aoki, Gary, I would suspect, and confirm, and like of course all the crew who were making those decisions, those learning points from like what we did right, what we did wrong. Of course, they're learning them the hard way as the company has now gone to nothing. But then this falls directly to the investors and the consumers of the product, where like they're like, "Where's our pre-orders? Where's our product?"
Oh man, the Facebook groups about pre-orders is.
And there's already been hundreds of chargebacks, right? Like, so we know that there's a large portion of the community that is in the process right now of trying to get their money back from products that were promised.
Which they deserve.
Oh, absolutely. And there's nothing. And this is where we have to be like, all right, it's time to talk about the shit. Because for all the love that we have, there
has to be checks and balances no matter what.
It's jaw-dropping. That's something
like, it is.
That a rug pull. And like, it was always the worst case scenario. Like all the haters from day one where it was like, they're going to do it. You need to know this is going to happen.
Yep.
And we're like, they have such a good roadmap. Do you see what they're putting out? Do you see like the community, the love, the core? I think a few other content creators put it best. I think they were inflating too much in terms of the value of the product versus the core community and how that was able to sustain tournament play and content creation in general. Because once again, when you're ostracizing your players by not paying them and you're ignoring your core content creators, they're going to fade. They're going to fade back into what they enjoy doing, which is talking about card games that are involved, that would like them to be a part of it, that have communities that are thriving and that can facilitate that love. And there was no facilitation of that community eventually. Like it originally was amazing. But once again, it took a weird dip after some of the drama that occurred within the Discord.
I felt like at the end of last year, that's where things kind of got a little bit bumpy, because I think what happened, and a good point what you did with about the inflating part, is because I think it started changing their aspects once they got a booth at San Diego Comic-Con, with the whole Hello Kitty just starting off with the promos. And when they made an announcement saying that they're going to try to move away from Collecticon, I was just like, that's where I personally started getting a little bit like, oh, what's going on? Yeah. Because it sounded like, okay, you're stepping away from where you came from. Like Collecticon helped you create this vast community.
You guys built each other.
Yeah.
By the way.
Because it felt like, it felt like,
to some degree, hold on. Collecticon is doing just fine, by the way. They're doing fantastic.
Yeah. I can't wait for this year's Collecticon.
During the beginning, like, the hype of Metazoo got people in the door, and Collecticon, of course, loved it. So why wouldn't they want to, showcase them, put them at the biggest booth, give them the real,
Collecting those Collecticon exclusive promos were so
I
fun.
ran across the
Oh,
floors, all those
instantly.
places.
When I made my content for each Collecticon for Metazoo, I would always go there immediately, get in line, get the promos from Texas Ted, who love that man. He is
To
a
death.
gem in the community.
Ted, if you're watching
And
this, you are
exactly.
fantastic, man. Oh my goodness. To this
And
day, I talk nothing but just the
oh,
highest of highest regards about
I
Texas Ted.
met Texas Ted literally when he was doing his first kick off the road tour,
Yeah.
going to San Diego Comic Con. I drove from Texas 4 hours right after work to Oklahoma City just to meet him, to see him off. I was
Dang.
just like, that man is a goat.
And speaking of, like, I'm just off the top of my head, 4224 games, I believe. Texas Ted, if
Yep,
is that
Texas
correct?
Ted. Yes,
Yeah. Oh my
sir.
God, I love seeing it. And not to spoil things, but I would love for some involvement down the line for Texas Ted and what I'm doing, which we'll get to that in just a little bit. But once again, you know good people when you see it.
Oh yeah.
And it just showed night and day that there were so many people within the community that were those good, well-rounded, just full of love people that were willing to just play the game for the game, talk about it, enjoy it
Oh
for what
yeah.
it was.
But they got way from San Diego Comic Con. They started trying to diverse themselves from Collecticon, and I felt like that was the beginning of the end. And that is what we're here now, because they kept on trying to diverge themselves from that. They try to focus too much on these collaborations where we literally ended up, where we're supposed to have 3 core sets, ended up having just 1. And then a random Hello Kitty collab, which I know a lot of people didn't like it. I loved it. I was so excited. This is what breaks my heart as a competitive player,
Yeah.
is that I was so excited to play, because I play test with my boy, it's Bunny Hunter, and we
Cool.
play test so much. We were like opening the box of Hello Kitty, and there's so many good cards in that set that were giving so much support to other decks, not just chibis, which it was focused on.
Right. Yeah.
But it was showing so much support for those, where I'm just like, yo, next tournament that's coming up this year, once we're back, I'm rocking this deck. I'm rocking this Chibi Mothman deck, or this Sentry Box deck, or even the Hello Kitty, because the Kuromi cards were so good. But here we
Oof.
are.
I mean, I do remember, and this is something that I wanted the Chromie cards. I was there at Comic Con, ready to throw down. I didn't get the premium collector box. I didn't get the 2 boosters and stuff, but it was you that let me kind of skip the line so I could get my promo card. And I was so stoked to get it, because part of me knew that, like, all right, they really shelled out for this event this time.
They
There's a
almost got
roller
shut down.
coaster.
They almost got shut
Because
down
the line was
twice.
so long. But do you see what I mean, though? Like, to have a line that long, to have that many people not only interested but buying, how do you drop the ball on filling those orders? How do you, especially if you've already greased the wheel? You've done this for 3 other sets, 4 sets already. How is it now that you're not able to pay the printers? How is it now that you're not able to pay the tournament players? How is it now that the rug pull begins? And then I hear that people in the Metazoo team have 2 Lamborghinis and are making a house. Then I hear about, like, falling out between Aoki and Mike. And once again, this is where, and Argos did this the absolute best. This is where we're going to differentiate fact from opinion, and what I've heard and what I know, like, to be true, and then what I'm just speculating, what I've heard speculation on.
Yep.
And whatever this falling out had occurred between Mike and Aoki, it rippled once Andy took the ship. Right? Because once we saw the change in management, then we saw artists dip. We saw changes in how they were structuring their Discord, with suddenly you can't leave a comment. You can't even type in it.
The ban list wave was enormous, of just people saying, where's my stuff? And then bam.
Boom. And then that was after, and this is all, I'm jumping the gun here, because do you remember when they said, hey, we're unbanning everyone that we had ever banned before on the Metazoo chat? We want to open our hearts to the team.
New year, new us.
No, even now it's just like there is still like a shell shock to all of this. Just like the rubble needs to settle, and all of us just be like, we need, you know what I need? I need a video from Mike, and I need a video from Andy. I don't care of them being together, but I would like a statement from the horse's mouth so that the rest of the community can short up. Because to be completely honest with you, this is the best time right now to buy Metazoo. Because to be completely honest with you, I think the price is going to go up. And it's because of the history and the love that this community has generated that transcends the poor management and the decisions from the higher-ups. Once again, the community will thrive.
And I've told so many people this in the community, because they've asked me, do you think Metazoo is going to come back? Do you think it's going to be bought out? And I honestly believe, like, if I did do, I wanted to, because it was such a good game.
I'm hopeful.
It has a huge following. Yeah, I'm hopeful. Now, I'm not going to be surprised if it doesn't, because of the past, the thing that's going on. Right. But literally, and I've said this before, if they just listen, if whoever buys this company, and they just look at Mike's ending statement before he ended up closing the doors, if they just do exactly what they did, pay the Dark Tower people, the winners,
pay the printers,
fulfill, pay the printers, and literally just focus on the 3 core sets. Don't even worry about subsets or anything else.
No more promos.
Exactly. Until we get where we need to be and move forward from that, then we're golden. We can get back to what we're doing. The game gets good and running. But if those things aren't key, those key things aren't met, it's going to be a bumpy ride, whoever picks up this game.
And you know what's interesting? Because this is something that I don't think a lot of people want to talk about, and this is in terms of intellectual property. Mm-hmm. In terms of Metazoo, they own the name, they own Sam Sinclair, they own the characters that are involved, they own the storyline, they own the comics, they own those things. But 90% of the cryptids, by the way, are fair use.
Yep.
I want you to know this. And this is where it gets a little sketchy, because where one company falters, another one will pick up the pieces and continue on. And that's what I'm also expecting, because we're already seeing it now that artists are coming together from the Metazoo team and are doing their own projects with versions of their characters that they've created or other intellectual properties that they are really into, and now are bringing that to their own TCG, and it's being kickstarted, and it's doing great.
I'm really excited about talking about this one.
Yeah, World of Nom Nom, for those that haven't heard about it. Victor Larson, the amazing, talented, has started up their own TCG called World of Nom Nom, or Nom Nomverse, to coin it. And it has already surpassed one of their stretch goals for the Kickstarter, which...
Actually, it surpassed a huge Kickstarter stretch goal, $200,000.
$200,000.
Yep, which they're getting some of the OG artists from Metazoo to do alternate arts in their game, which is going to be crazy. I was sad because there was a tier for $800 that they would work with you to make a card, and I was so close to getting it, but it sold out instantly. But they did it, I believe, in less than 30 minutes, and they already hit their goal. Or like, it was like 15, 20 minutes. Epic Tube did an opening stream with them. It was an amazing stream that talked about a lot of stuff that they're going to be thinking about. The game is actually available on Steam to play on TTS.
Make sure you subscribe to the World of Nom Nom. If you're watching, please make sure you do, because it is going to be so fantastic. And once again, here on this podcast, we're going to be hyping up every TCG, because that's kind of what this is about. We're here about for the love of all these card games. And I think, despite a lot of speculation and hardcore investor bros, stuff like that, there's enough space in this industry for all TCGs to exist.
100%.
And then some. As certain games rise and fall, which is the ebb and flow. Apparently there's like a 4-year curse or a 5-year curse, whatever that may be. There's still a wave that occurs of new games and new lore and new genres and new mechanics that are not only refreshing, but pivotal to the story about what a in-person game means. And as time and technology changes, and how we have Apple Vision Pros, there's still going to be that core community of people that love just sitting down across from someone and playing a really nice card game that is strategically complex, but also just fun and easy to, engage with.
Something to do with your friends.
Yeah.
It's just like this. It doesn't beat that Even like same
Ever.
thing with like board games and everything. That's why they still existed. That's why
D&D,
card
man.
shops. Yeah, exactly. That's why card shops have those set up in the play space because there's
Mhm.
people that will always meet up as a competitive player, as a just even a casual player.
Yeah.
I see people in my locals that come and meet every Tuesdays just to play board games. It'll be like random ones, and they just sit there to have fun. And that's something that cannot be changed. Just sitting face to face, talking with your friends,
Mm.
playing a new deck, playing new cards, or even trading that card that you wanted, that waifu, like in One Piece or Weiss. It's just something about that just
Man.
brings people in together, and that is the main reason why we did this.
And speaking of, I feel like One Piece is doing a great job in like we're gonna bring in that community of the hardcore players, of the collectors, of what is that, a 10? Black
This
Label
is
10?
Wave
Gold to 10. Oh my
One
gosh.
Golden
Ooh.
10 Alpha Nami that I got because I believed in the game, and now it's like people are going crazy about it. And that game is so like I've never seen TCG explode like One Piece did, like to the
That is
point where
nuts.
modern cards are going insane amount of numbers. Like that card literally
Thousands.
came out a year ago, and that card's
Yeah.
worth like $1,600 right now.
Oh my good
But
God.
like with the introductions of manga rares, which
Yeah.
is manga Gear 5 Luffy that's sitting at $3,500 raw, and we're not even talking about Black Label
No, we're
or
not even talking about
and
graded prices yet.
it's just crazy. And then also One Piece tournament cards where the prizing cards are going over thousands of dollars is just mind blowing.
And I'm noticing that there's a lot of content creators that used to cover, maybe more Metazoo related things that I have seen now completely hop into the One Piece tournament space. Like
Oh yeah.
competitive Metazoo players are now doing a lot of. I've seen some Flesh and Blood. Some go to that.
Mhm.
I've seen some go to Cryptic. But most of the people were immediately like, "Oh, One Piece," and then that's what it was. And it stayed that way kind of for a while. And it's crazy because I thought Lorcana was going to rock the system much harder than it did. And this is why my sentiment of there's enough space for everyone to exist, because if Disney puts their foot in the ring and they're not a massive stake, if they're not beating out Magic already, it means that there is a thriving community within all of the different companies and
Oh
all of
yeah.
their fandoms. And we know that there's a longevity for all of it, as long as they're doing the right thing by the community and filling their orders.
Now speaking of orders, and and the whole thing about why Lorcana hasn't kicking everybody's ass yet is because of that.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of when it first came out, how hard it was to even find Lorcana.
Where was it?
And One Piece is actually having that issue now where apparently, again, this is just rumors that I'm seeing on Reddit, Twitter, or X, what you want to call it, or even Facebook groups, is that they're even cutting down allocations even more. I even had a friend for both One Piece and Lorcana, even though Lorcana, I think they made a statement that they're going to print out more. But
Yeah.
I just had a friend literally today, as of February 8th, that her allocations for Into the Inkwell has gotten cut down. So it's like you made this
Strange.
statement about reprinting more, but now you're saying that you're
Because that's what I was
cutting
going to say.
down.
I heard that they were going to reprint it into Oblivion, that you're not going to
Yep,
be able to walk into a bodega in New Jersey without seeing racks of Lorcana
exactly.
forever. Like, and the point is so that everyone could get their hands on the game
Hmm.
and could experience that mechanics, because Disney has that disposable
They
income
got the money.
to
They can do it.
distribute like that. Like, oh my God, they have it in the bag. And to just piss away that opportunity by saying we're going to cut allocations makes me think they're trying to take a page out of Metazoo's book and be like, whoa, there's not a lot of cards on the market. They're going to be super expensive.
Exactly.
And there are other games that I think that handled the supply and demand of the necessities of the community really well. I think Cryptic and Tanner is a great example of that,
Oh yeah.
where
Oh.
there was the riddle boxes, and then there
Hmm.
was the Kickstarter set. And when the Kickstarter set blew up, of course, the second wave had to come. And it was meeting the demand of the players to a T. Like, there was perfectly enough boxes for everyone to get their hands on some and to do what was needed. Content creators spoke about it. Tournament players got their hands on cards. And right now, it sustained the need. You know, like it was perfectly in balance.
Moving up, yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine, as someone, by the way, who is making their own collectible trading card game, I can't imagine having a Kickstarter go well and be like, 100,000 of them. What? We've only pre-ordered like 5,000. 100,000 units. And then to hear, and sorry to go back into it, but I've, once again, speculation, have heard that apparently there is a private collection of OG products that are now being possibly sold onto the open market from Metazoo. Apparently there was a percentage that was kept from distributors in-house to sell when things went up. Now, I can't speculate this. I haven't seen any evidence of it yet.
Yep.
But I can tell you that there have been Kickstarter boxes sold for $720 and less as of now, confirmed. And there are more Kickstarter boxes being sold now than there were in the past like year and a half. So where are they coming from?
Now I can buy one.
Oh my god! I've never owned a Kickstarter box.
Me neither, and I want to open one so bad.
Mike, if you're hearing this, once again, we love you, bud. You made a great game. I would love a Kickstarter box, and I'll talk about Metazoo again. I have no problem. It'll be like the good old days, Mike. Just give me a box, man.
It's a box, man. It's a box, man. We just need one.
You know, gem blenders and other verse that are getting their allocations out, and you know, they're having promo cards, and I feel like a lot of people are once again taking a blueprint that Metazoo really popularized, which was promo set, maybe, you know, tournament talk, stuff like that. What a TCG should be doing, and I think they kind of normalized what it felt like to be a part of a community that closely, that well. And that's why we're seeing so many other card games being made right now, because like they're like, oh wow, this is doable, we can do this. Like I feel like I could contribute to this or do it myself. Me being one of them, I felt that way. I mean,
I'll do it myself.
That's exactly the sentiment.
And the same thing like you said about Roadmap was like Metazoo kicked off the whole artist being at the convention signings, because I've never seen so many. I know Pokemon did it a little bit, but like Metazoo has trademarked that, and I haven't seen people go so much crazy. Cause like you hear it, you see it in other TCGs. They're like, oh, if an artist signs it, it's already damaged. It's a damaged card. I don't care. But the Metazoo community goes so crazy for artist signature, and it did. Because we understood and we loved the artwork and the artists. It was so cool interacting with them, talking to your favorite artists about your favorite card, your favorite cryptid, to the point where I'm starting to see like these up and coming TCGs starting to bring their own artists on board too.
And did you notice like Yu-Gi-Oh! At every Collecticon or every Comic-Con, they only had the playing booths for their online client and like maybe one of those bunny hats you could put on. They never had their artists show up. They never had a line of people that could get like you want your art signed. Well, we have the people there that did it, because I mean
I would have gone nuts to get the signature of the artist that did Judgment Dragon.
Oh, there's a few cards. I mean, so first one,
Change or even the heroes.
Whoever did Change of Heart, whoever did Trap Hole, whoever did Heavy Storm, whoever
Dark Magician.
I mean, of course, I'm a simp for the Magician. Cannot deny.
My Dark Magician girl waifu needs.
Whoa. This is something I want to talk about later on. But I'm noticing that more modern TCGs are going for the full border, you know, like the full bleed
card arts and everything.
And I don't know if that's preferred, because I know One Piece is knocking it out of the park with a full art card that has an overlay on top.
Yeah. So the way they do it is because they're alternate arts. Yeah, so there's the regular arts and then the alternate arts, and the alternate arts. And I do like that approach because it makes it a little bit more special. They give the texture, the different kind of hollow foil to them. Yeah. So I do like that they do that, and it's not like overdone where it's like, okay, like every other card Because I know Pokemon used to do that too, where they use some of the old cards will just have a half art or something like that. Which,
Yeah.
but I do like that One Piece gives it that little inch in there.
That makes me really happy to know, because I feel like in my game I have, the normal versions of the cards, and then if we have an alternate art or a full art card, that's when we give it that special treatment of making sure that it has the extra special holo, the special texture, the special coloring, maybe a different alternate pattern on like some of the clothing, or just something a little bit of specialness.
So speaking of your card, how about we dive into that and just how about we just introduce it and then tell us what you can say.
Yeah. So, let's just take it back from the beginning, right? Because there was a point in time where I was a hardcore Metazoo fan, and I came to Andy with like, hey, there are cryptids that you don't know about or that you haven't included. I would love to help with this. I would love to help promote this. I just want to be involved in some way, shape, or form. I thought I had a lot that I could offer in terms of direction, and we were pretty consistently talking in DMs in Discord, and I won't reveal them, but we were pretty friendly. And it was always nice to kind of hear their version of, like, let's say a public announcement that they would come to me and then be like, hey, by the way, we want to do something with you about this. And I was like, oh, cool. But there was a point where they just stopped answering my DMs, stopped all of that. And as I'm sitting there and I'm seeing all this occur, it got under my skin. And I said that to myself. I'm like, I wouldn't make these same mistakes. I wouldn't ignore my community. I won't ignore my community like this. Like I have a community of my fans that like my videos and my content, and I try and nurture that as best as I can. And especially if I'm making a company, it's important that I believe in the product just as much as my fans do. And that moment changed for me when I stopped believing Metazoo cared about their product as much as I did. So I started making my own card game. But it happened in a weird situation where I was like, well, it was so strange. I was making my own card game based off of crypto coins. Imagine different
Doge
cryptocurrencies, that were able to be played, and they were actually redeemable NFTs that had value on every card with a QR code. And I made a whole game, and I thought it was really cool. But I'm a content creator, and I had a dream one night where I was just like fighting everyone, like punching celebrities in their face, and like cannons out of my head. Crazy. It was like I think Avengers Infinity War last battle with Thanos. The ships are coming in, all the Avengers are running out, and like I'm in there. But instead of like Tony Stark, it's like call me Chris and Boogie to the right of me for some reason, and then there's you next to me, and then there's all the Metazoo artists, and like I'm seeing like, wait a minute, what if it was a game that was all about content creators? I mean, there's a football industry and there's a sports industry, and there's so many collectible trading cards that are signed by athletes that have millions of adoring fans, and they make billions of dollars every year. Why don't content creators and celebrities have that? Why does that not exist? And so the idea, like I woke up and I was in a hot sweat to know that like this was like oh my God, I'm on something. I feel this in my gut that this was a thought that hasn't occurred to many people. And if they did, they didn't execute it properly. So I got to work straight away. And because I was a content creator, I had a network of people that were also content creators with millions of followers or their own passionate community. So I'd reach out and be like, hey, if I made a trading card of you, would you want to be a part of it? And they'd be like, yeah, sure. Oh my God, that's cool. That's so cool. And then I went to the next content creator, and I did that like 500 times. And I was sending out thousands of DMs and emails to like people of big names, big agencies, to be like, hey, is there any way we can get like a promotional thing? And I realized two things. To get that many content creators, all with their own collaborations together, is going to be really tough, because I don't know if you know how hard it is to get a collaboration going between a content creator and a company.
Yep.
Sometimes it's expensive, and sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes there's contracts to be signed. So to get a way of streamlining that process of getting content creators immediately signed on, compensated, intellectual rights licensed, and ready to go is like a proprietary secret that I've been working on for a long time. And I shouldn't say secret, but there's like tips and trades and networking that I've been very proud of to have happen to allow me to get to this point where EVORNET is made.
It is.
EVORNET. This is the first time I'm saying it online.
There it is.
I've been working on this on the back end now for 2 years of just getting the content creators together and just getting a list of names that were people who would want to be a part of it and getting a story together that was worth telling and getting a universe built around the idea of people on the internet battling it out to see who can go viral against one another in the best way possible. So it started with asking storytellers what their favorite stories are, and ask people who write lore what their favorite mysteries are, and what pieces of information can be put into a universe that not only make the universe and the story worth learning, but leaves lessons that are morally compelling along the way. And my story is the tale of 19. 19, they are a character who wants to enter this space of online content creation. But unlike our world, they are kind of in the future a bit, where there's a lot more access to technology than there was before. And what's going to end up occurring is that we're going to be diving into the stories of what it means to share yourself on the internet, and what it means to explore what you love to do, and what it means to be passionate about something, and to accept rejection. And these really important life lessons are the fundamental building blocks of EVORNET, because as we're all content creators, we have all faced these pivotal moments of wondering if we're good enough or wondering if our story is worth telling, and they all are. So let's celebrate that in a game that immortalizes every single person that's been a part of that internet space in the community that has grown this from day one. And let's give them a game that celebrates just that very concept, the content that made it all happen. So
Chills.
Thank you, bro.
Love it. And that's actually where we met. Well,
Yeah.
we met a little bit before that, but
Just a smidge, but yeah.
but that's where we met, because I saw the post and I was just like, well, every game needs a draw mechanic, and bam, that's when we started talking.
Let's be honest here. There is a cool built-in concept with EVORNET where a lot of these content creators already have thousands of fans that would probably love to get their cards. Some that have already traveled to different conventions just to do just that. So to have a game where you could open up a booster pack and get a signed card from Logan Paul or Markiplier or Casey Neistat.
Signature cards.
Do you see what I mean? You immediately start going, oh my God, there's billions to be made here. If this is done properly, if this is done right, this can be the cornerstone of where collectibles and online influencers and just content creators meet, where artists can be celebrated for their work on a platform where they can talk about it on their own page and then promote their own. It kind of all feeds into itself. And from the very first day that I started making this game, I kept echoing to myself, community first, community first, community first. And that's why there's like 30 or 40 cards in the first 2 sets of my card game that's going to be coming out that are content creators from the Metazoo space, from the Lorcana space, from the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok space that would talk about Magic the Gathering and different cards, people that you know of. Because once again, I wanted not just major influencers of like dancers and like, you know, those meme trenders to be the ones that are, you know, talked about. I don't want just Charlie D'Amelio's and Britney Spears and, you know, all those big names. I want people that if you saw a card, you'd be like, oh snap, I didn't know they had a card. And I want it signed by them because I know they're at this convention making content somewhere around here. Or I know that this artist that made this card also has their own card for this game because once again, a lot of artists make content. They'll post their art on the internet. They make videos about it. And that constitutes them as content creators. I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah.
So let's be honest here. I've been talking quietly about EVORNET for a while now. But it really has been a core group of friends and fans and family that have just kind of been like helping me continue this, to hype me up as I kind of finish this project and get things squared away. And that's where I just love the TCG community because once again, just like myself, I love all card games. I want them all to succeed and thrive. So to know that like, it's so cool. Tanner, I messaged Tanner from Cryptic the other day and I was like, hey, I'm working on my own tabletop simulator version, but there's a line of code that I can't get working right. But you have the code in your tabletop simulator version And if I could please use that, it would mean the world. And I can adapt it to my code so this way it's different and yada, yada, yada. But I need to lift a little bit of code from you. And he's like, sure, go for it, dude. Don't even worry. I was like, oh, this is what community's all about. Thank you so much. You made it easy for me to get this done. And like, dude, yes. It's just aces in the hole like that. That's just like, okay, I'm in the right place. I know this is the community that I want to spend the rest of my days telling stories
100%.
and just kind of diving deep in. Which is also brings me to another point of EVORNET. Kind of the last thing I'll kind of speak on that for the moment. But the story of EVORNET is, I would like to say, it's going to be poignant politically. It's not a political-esque show or a story, but this is something that I want it to be adapted into a TV series immediately, right away. And I have access to animators and friends that are artists and things that I want to get pilot episodes and little like animations done quickly so we can kind of start telling the story of the universe already. And the coolest news that I want to share with you guys about this, and this is the last thing I'll say, period. We have officially brought on one of the former Metazoo artists as the chief creative officer for the artistic direction of EVORNET. So I was dead serious when I heard that the artists were dropping out from Metazoo. I said, that's incredible talent. That's just going out the window. I can't believe they're just letting them go. I have to. So I messaged as many people as I could. And I said, hey, party doesn't have to stop here. Maybe you want to work together? And I got a yes. And I'm not going to reveal names right now because as we're still building out the team, there are other people from the Metazoo team that we are also going to try and bring on, and other people that we would like to have incorporated into the fold. But these are big, major names that you have heard of time and time again from the Metazoo team that will be a part of EVORNET in the near future, as well as some other card games that I actually can't share because that would get me in a lot of hot water. But there are some cool names that I can reveal of content creators that are going to be a part of this. The first one being Thomas Sanders, the Vine Lord, the Vine God himself.
Okay.
We also have Christy Carlson Romano, Kim Possible. We have Santa Claus, the actual verified Santa Claus account. Yeah. Very fun, very cool. We have Rob Paulson. We have, oh my gosh, I'm going to start forgetting names and then saying names that I probably shouldn't. So I'll stop there. But the list
there's already a teaser.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm very
All I
proud.
know is
I'm very proud.
Whoever the artist is from Metazoo needs to just draw my character. That's it.
It's so funny you say that because I've been very careful and secretive about working on EVORNET, and even though I stopped believing, so to speak, in Metazoo, I eventually knew that my next goal was to learn as much as I could, be as close as I can to them, and learn as much as I can about the industry, about the company, about what it means to run your own business, because these are all life and learning lessons that I need to take in immediately. Yep. And so I schmoozed. I got as close as I could. I got invited to conventions. I would shake hands and I would just like look at everything. I'm like, oh, how'd you get that? And I would ask questions like, well, where'd you commission that booth?
My boy is silent.
Interesting. Cool. Great. Who's your printing company? Oh, great. Oh, that's awesome. And what's the person that you get translating? Okay. Cool.
They call me the demon.
So, but, and it wasn't out of maliciousness. It was once again, like, I consider things blind spots. I know how to make content. I know how to tell a story. I know how to create characters and universes that I think are not only enjoyable, but entertaining. So making an entire card game was something that I didn't necessarily know how to do. So I did a lot of research. I practiced a few times. I made my own previous game beforehand. But these were all blind spots that I had to fill in. And what better way than being next to a hyped up new company that was doing all the things that I wanted to do. They were hitting this golden stride when I was like really getting to be a part of them. And I thought, wow, these are all amazing moments to kind of pull from and learn from about how to run a company, how not to run a company, how to prioritize the right things over others. And I think for one, Like, if I get a salary, it is going to be equally in line with every other artist and every other person, because I believe in my game so much that I would rather take a cut than make sure that, like, I'm getting a Lamborghini or two.
No, we making sure everybody eating.
Exactly. Everyone's getting a Lambo before I'm getting a Lambo, period. I think they walk so we can run, right? Like, I feel like every other card game right now is going, this is a learning moment for all of us here. What to do and what not to do.
100%. And then like the big three looking at like, oh, they're still at that part.
Yeah.
I remember them days.
I remember my first bankruptcy. Yeah. And but that's another too. Like, as I'm here like promoting my game, I can't sit here and shit on Metazoo. And that's why I don't. Like, for what it's worth, Metazoo has their own fair share of problems, but we've already discussed this.
Yeah, it's fair criticism. It's just like they like, although they have their moments of, yeah, they messed up on these things, but again, we can't forget about the things that they did great. Like, again, starting the whole artist signatures.
Yeah.
Making sure, like, the building the community, the hotspots, and making sure, like, where they made their cons to make sure to support the businesses around. Like, man, nonstop. I would give that to Andy and Mike. Every event I've gone to, like either Roswell, Salem, or even the Mothman Festival, they're like, hey, make sure to visit this community or shop at these local spots. Like, for example, for Salem, they made us do the passport stamps. So we would go to all these different shops, buy some stuff. I
still have the first passport. I never got it stamped, but at the next convention, I was like, hey, do you have any of those first edition passports? And I think it was Ted who gave me one. He's like, yeah, I got one left. And he gives it to me. I was like, oh, Ted, you're an angel. It's the blue one, right? Yeah.
To this day,
there it is.
I feel like I'm the one with the closest stamps, which one mine is cool because mine has a doodle of all the artists.
You got Jet in there?
Oh, with all the Mothman by each artist in there. But I have the closest, I believe, like literally just one page left of stamps. If I would have gone to New York Comic Con, I would have had every single stamp on that book. Damn. But it's just like stuff like that is just like
really
they
cool
did
things.
Well.
Yeah,
they did cool things, and they made sure to take in consideration of the community. But unfortunately, they lost their way.
What do you think Hero Quest is going to go from here? Because Aoki and Mike were pretty close, and as that falling out occurred, we saw Aoki focus more on Hero Quest and the cards that were attributed to his music. Do you think that's going to be its own like set or card game down the line, or because they were using the Metazoo template, weren't they? They
were using the Metazoo for a while, but then I think they just I don't know if they scrubbed Metazoo completely out of the Hero Quest.
I don't know.
And I don't know if they're just going to make it a card, because the way they were promoting it, it was more like a, hey, get a CD, get the card kind of thing going on.
Open the
so
promo.
So it sounds like it's just more like a promo than anything. But if they do end up making something, we're going to talk about it here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And that's why, because like I like Aoki. Aoki's music's good. Aoki's team knows how I think decisions should be made in regards to keeping the hype alive or keeping the fans happy. And I'm just curious to see maybe what that will show down the line with Hero Quest 3.0, I believe, right?
It's 3.0. They just had 2.0 with the last Metazoo, but I think they're doing 3.
Oh my goodness. We've been live now for I think well over an hour. Let's see. We hit the hour mark. Let's go.
Ooh, see, look at that.
Flying through that hour, no problem. But I do kind of want to go over a few other things, but kind of close out some stuff here.
Sounds good.
First one being, and this kind of helps me out here, because as I'm making my own card game, I've had questions that I've wanted to ask either Metazoo fans or people within the Metazoo team about how I can make my card game better, about how things should be done. Because once again, I have my own blind spots. I have questions that I have about how to make a community the best it can be. And not to say that I'm responsible for that, but I want to facilitate the best space where a community can grow and give them the tools to do that and the entertainment to do so. Yeah. So, do you think that Metazoo had too many promos?
To be honest, the promos were one of the funnest things about Metazoo. Because it was like it made something to collect and go after. Now, of course, like there's the whole money aspects, but again, TCG, there's always going to be money. I know people don't. It's like kind of a taboo to some people to talk about money and cards, but it is what it is. There's always going to be money involved with
Everything
card
costs
games.
money. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like, and to talk about the market and how
Hmm.
these movements occur within the communities is totally a fair thing to do, especially if people like ourselves spend money on these games. We want to
Exactly.
be well informed.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. But the
yeah,
the promos, that was one of the funnest things, and I feel like I think a lot of other TCGs started catching on, making exclusive Collecticon promos,
yeah,
which was fun. And it was fun going to different brews, going to different card trading games. And that's a good way to improve and bring people into your card games by giving out those promos. So I did actually like that.
yeah, me too.
I do think that what, like, and I've told this to a lot of people, is that if Metazoo would have just went and focused on the player base for a while, especially at the end of the year
Yeah,
until now, we would have been fine. I know they would have had to play catch up with a lot of their other stuff, but like they
yeah,
promised some promo packs, some judge packs, and some tournament packs, which had alt arts, which was so exciting to me. Being able, because me as a collector and a competitive player, being
mm,
like, cool, I had a Piazza Bird first place medal, but now there's a chance of getting a Mothman first place medal or a Jersey Devil place first place medal.
yeah.
That's cool, and that makes me want to collect those medals and go to different tournaments, different, even if it's in a different state. Like, cool, I'm in Texas. There's a medal tournament in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm going to Vegas.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I feel like will be amazing
So,
to implement.
you know what I think it was, and now that I'm kind of looking back, it wasn't necessarily the number of promos that were being released. It's the fact that there were none available so soon after they came out, right?
Yeah.
Because once again, in my opinion, there should always be the supply to meet the demand within the community at the moment. If the game's to grow, then there'll be more demand down the road, and then they'll be more sought after, and then the price should technically increase. At least
Yep.
if that is the standard trajectory of how the market wants to move. But in this
You-
case, there was always a lack of availability for these promo products, whether it be the lunch tin or the chibi set or the plushie that would come out. And some of them were really awesome. Like having to go to a Collecticon to pick up an exclusive plushie was
Oh
the
yeah.
coolest thing, and I still have all of them, all of the
Hmm.
Cumberland Dragon plushies. And that's something that I think you can take away from is that you can have special products that are exclusively available at different functions.
Hmm.
But to only have exclusively available products for every product,
That's where you get to a sticky situation.
and because now people are FOMOing out the butt, that's where
Mhm.
the hype increases. That's where we see now the pricing is going and taking not an artificial bump, but because the hype's increasing exponentially, now the amount that they're willing to pay increases. So of
What
course, you know,
what you want in a normal game, you want steady growth. And for example, this is where we can jump into One Piece. This is right here.
yes, One
This booster
Piece.
box right here. This is OPO1 white back booster box, white bottom, and that showed steady growth. And this is again a TCG that came out a year ago.
Yeah.
That box is already sitting at $500, and
Oh
this is
my
OPO1.
goodness.
Yeah, compared to,
Whoa.
so, but what you don't want is like, for example, OPO5, which just recently came out in I think December,
Yeah.
and those boxes are hitting $300, $400.
For a newest set like that already?
Exactly, because they shorten the demand, and that's something that you don't want. You
That
want
you
a
were saying
steady,
about the
yep,
allocation.
and
That
yeah,
doesn't make
because you
sense.
want exactly because you want a steady income. Because again, a set that came out a year ago is fine to be at price point at 500,
Sure.
because it's like cool. It's a year set. There's
Brand
no
new
point in
set, hottest
rebranding it.
set. Yeah, it could be chase cards that are out the wazoo.
Yeah,
Cool.
but
Hype it up.
compared to a modern set that just came out a month or two ago, and already at double the MSRP, that's going to cause so
That's
much
fishy.
stir.
Yeah, because then
And that
all the tournament players are like, we can't get access to cards without spending twice as much as we did on the
exactly,
previous set, and it's just not worth it.
And it's not, and that was the issue. Is like cool, and that's why I'm glad that you're taking that whole point. Is like cool, supply enough where we're meeting demands,
Yeah,
and
yeah, of
then
course.
roll back, slow down, and then worry. Like once you start, for me, once it gets to the point where like cool, we're already worrying about the future set, then we should stop about the past set because that's it. We're done. We're
Move
not
on.
focused on it because
Yeah.
you want as much as I know. Again, this is about the whole money talk. As much as I know people don't want to talk about money, cards have to be worth something, especially older sets, because cool, once you're done playing them, collectors get them.
Yeah.
And if collectors are happy, that causes buzz for your game. If that causes buzz for your game, that means the CEOs, the corporation knows that people want the
Shareholders, all
game.
of it. Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
know that they get the buzz that cool. Hey, this game is doing great. Let's keep on making more. Let's put double the allocations for the next set. We're gonna keep it pumping. We're gonna keep it going because cool. Now collectors are happy that their investments are gaining money. They're gaining steam, and then collector and competitive players are happy because cool. I have a new set to look forward to. I have something to play with,
Yeah.
something to play with my friends, or something to chase
And the
after.
prices are not inflated to the point where they're outside the MSRP range where I can't even get them unless I go to fucking Booby's Whatnot stream to buy a box for
Exactly.
$600, $700. It's not fair to anybody involved.
And that is something that blows my mind how like in TikTok people are paying like double the prices on MSRP or even triple and they're just okay with it. They're just like, all right, cool, I'm gonna buy it from Boobies 300 $400 but it's just like, yo, this set just came out last month. Why are you paying double the price?
I don't
And
know.
then what annoys me is because like people are blaming scalpers nonstop. It's just like, look, scalpers aren't a huge issue because it's just literally okay. For example, this happened during the Pokemon run.
Yeah,
I forgot what set it was. I think it was one of the shiny sets. And then people were blaming, oh yeah, scalpers are ruining the game and everything. But
Shining
literally,
Fates. Oh
yeah,
my
I think yeah, it was
god. It
Shining
was
Fates.
Shining Fates.
And I went to my local Target because people knew the reprint when the distributors were coming to restock it.
Yeah.
There was lines out the door waiting for them to open to the point where they started leaving notes saying 2 per customer or 1 per customer.
They were limiting it. I had that in my
Yeah.
Walmart happen to me because
And then
yeah. Just
when I was talking to people down the row, not a single person was a scalper. Not a
Yeah.
single person was trying to resell. Literally, the same person I was talking, each person was giving the same response. Oh, I have to buy everything before the scalpers get it. But it's like, you know what you're causing? You're causing a boogeyman effect, saying that a scalper's going to ruin it. But and then I'm seeing on Facebook Marketplace that like, oh, I had to buy out the Walmart because the scalper was going to get it. And if they don't buy it out, I will.
During the COVID pandemic, the toilet paper mentality took over Pokemon.
Yep.
It swept everything. You couldn't. I mean, I was shamedly one of these people that would travel to store to store to store just to pray to God there was a small premium bundle or like a 6-pack box that I could pick up and open for a stream or just make content with. There was nothing.
Everybody hopped on it. And it was just like, that's what made me laugh. And it was crazy because people were blaming scalpers, but in reality, it was okay, cool. It was influencers, it was content creators, even people that never even touched TCG in their life. It was like, hey guys, I found some Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon cards. Let's open it. And then they'll even say it themselves. I haven't opened Pokemon for years since I was a kid.
It was the rebirth
but let's open it
for
now.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll admit for myself, it was definitely a time where my interest peaked. I was an avid Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic player. I already had my Commander deck like years before.
The famous Pokemon boom of 2020.
Yeah. But I think there is something to be said about how because of the hype and because of that wave of all these new people and then the pandemic hit, we had a situation where no one had anything to do, so they bought up all the cards, and I mean everyone. It wasn't just scalpers, because that's not the truth. Because even if scalpers got their hands on the product, they would sell out so quick, and all the prices were selling. Everything was selling all the time. You couldn't find anything.
Even the stuff no one cared about. Like I was seeing Pokemon people buy baseball cards and football cards, and I was seeing football players buying Pokemon cards.
Yep.
I was like, "What are you doing?" It's just
Pure
like, "Well, I
chaos.
had to trade it to somebody else because they bought all my stuff." I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Well, my
y'all
Walmart has more baseball, and their Walmart has more Pokemon, so we make the trades. I was like,
it
okay.
blew my mind
This
seeing that.
Dude, on that note, I think we're going to call it here.
Yep.
Thank you so much for over an hour of your lovely time. I'd like to do this again very soon. Let's call it next week. Same time, same place. Try and get an hour in of just talking a little bit more about... I do want to take more time and dive into World of Nom Nom. I want to go over some of the cards. I want to show all these cool kind of Kickstarter thresholds that have been hit. The 200K one, that's a big deal. So I think next time we're going to maybe get some first-hand opinions on maybe someone who's part of the team kind of make it to join us, and we get to hear.
Maybe get some word from their mouth.
Exactly. Yes. Get some direct advertisement from the people that make it. So you know what? I think that's a cool idea. I'm going to reach out to some folks and see what we can wrestle up here. But to you that's watching right now, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. If you're still here watching all the way to the end of the video, good on you. Thanks for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Well, Demon, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful night. Thanks for everything.
Yes, you too.
All right. Let me go.